I know it's bright and early. It is for me too on Sunday, but what's nice about it is like it's kind of quiet and relaxed. So we'll just do like a nice chill because I'm an energetic person. So I'm gonna like be chill in the beginning, and as we go, maybe I'll get more energetic as we start to wake up here. I also put in the chat the practice file. Do not feel obliged to download the file or actually get into XD today. That's just a choice if you want it. So there's, it's a pick your own adventure kind of morning. If you have XD downloaded, you want to open up the practice file, feel free to. Otherwise, the session is recorded, so you can just go back and download the practice file later and watch it, be able to play and pause and get into the practice file in your own time as well. In the chat, let's try to use the chat as much as possible because this is not a huge audience. We can, engage a bit more. You guys can feel free to ask me questions in here. Please put in here right now if you plan on actually downloading or if you've already downloaded the practice file. So I know who's actually doing it. So I know how much time to give people. I don't want to be pausing for people and they're like, no one's doing it. Okay, so we have a couple people. We have 2 people who said they're doing it. It's huge. Okay, also other option. Don't worry about downloading XD, the practice file at all. If you want to just open a new XD file, if it's too big, just open up a regular file and you can also actually practice alongside with me that way too. So no need to actually have the practice file. If the moderator can just answer any questions regarding things that I've already said, just in the chat, just in case, so I don't have to repeat for everyone else, we can get it going too. So yeah, feel free to just open up any new practice file in XD. That's totally okay as well. Cool, let's get this party started. Maybe I am already energetic. And I'm gonna share my screen here. Intro to UI and UX. I'm Elize. There's my colorful headshot they were talking about. But guess what? I got another one. Boom. I'm Elize. I'm a designer, UX designer. I've worked in an agency setting for the last 5 years. And now I've transitioned more into education. I teach Adobe XD for enterprise clients. I also teach UX design, UI design. I'm a content creator, and I'm a speaker. My whole thing is making UX education, design education a good time. So yeah, I do TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. If you are inspired today, if you want to share your designs and you want to continue conversation, feel free to just find me, Elize_UX. I also have, oh my gosh, 5 to 10 events a month that are free around UX UI. So you can go to my site, ElizeUX.com, to my events page, sign up. And I'm always offering a free class. I have a free intro to UX, a 2-hour workshop in the next week and a half too, if you're interested. All right, so let's get to know you guys just a little bit. What are you guys working on? Where are you at today in your hackathon? What are you hoping to get out of today's session? When you signed up, what were you like, oh, this is what I want, or this is what I hope for my project I'm working on? It'd be great to know a little bit about you guys so I can potentially make this a little bit more personalized to you. How would you open? Well, we can talk a little bit more about how you have to first actually download Adobe XD. So maybe one of the moderators can find the link that I shared in Discord for downloading XD for free. If you are still needing to download everything and we're getting started, don't worry about like trying to get everything up and running. Feel free to just watch and hang out, ask questions, and then figure out all the logistics and technical stuff later on so you guys can still be present in today's session. All right, Robert wants a better design. Cool. Back end is good, but our CS is like, yikes. All right, Robert, I got you. Okay, we're going to talk about how you can make Kaka designs into how you could be like a decent designer without having design skills. That's what we're going to be hopefully getting you guys to today. We have a beginner in UI UX. Awesome. You are in SoCal right now and in class, and you're focusing on UI UXs, Anna. Awesome. Ahmad is trying to get started with UI design and prototyping in XD and curious how to move to the next steps of turning it into code. All right, I can talk to you about, actually what I'll do right now is just tell you about a plugin called Anima and IMA. Go ahead and check that out, and that'll show you a little bit how you can turn design into code, because we're not going too deep into that today. All right, cool. Thank you guys for sharing your stories and getting to know you guys a little bit more. What we're covering today is what is UX UI. Sometimes those terms are used interchangeably. My goal is to be very clear on the difference between the two. It's a passion for me. Some people are just UX designers, some people are just UI, some people are a combination, but what even is it sometimes, right? Companies who are hiring UX UI designers don't even know the difference oftentimes. So we'll talk about that, and we'll do a basic XD tutorial, show you some of the basics, and then we're going to show you how to quickly design in XD. Like I said, how to be like a decent designer really quickly. And then I'm going to do some giveaways. What? Yes. 1 year subscription to Creative Cloud I'm giving away. I'm also going to give away some cool t-shirts. So that'll be at the end. So pay attention, because I'm going to ask questions that will depict the winner. What is UX? Let's get into it. Have you guys ever had a frustrating experience offline? So something like it says pull, but it's really a push door, or you're hopping in an elevator and you see all these numbers jumbled and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And it's just frustrating, right? Can you guys think of that? If you could explain any that you've experienced yourself in the chat, please share. I love talking about bad experiences. I'm like, oh, I'm a Yelper, right? I'm like, every time I have a bad shopping or restaurant experience, I'm on there like, the menu was confusing. And okay, you also had a push pull door. Okay, cool. A lot of door issues. Okay. What about online experiences? Here's an example. Have you ever like created a new password and there's all these constraints and requirements for it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do in here, right? And it can get a little confusing. Or perhaps you're trying to buy something and maybe it's really confusing on how to buy it. There's so many steps, maybe it's overwhelming. And you've kind of just like, I'm not going to do this right now. Have you guys ever experienced online bad experiences? Every 3 months, having to change the password for work. Oh God, I hate changing my password. Well, I had to get a password manager because I was just having so much password frustrations. I was like, fine, I'll pay for a password manager. Okay, thanks for sharing those. Yeah. Oh, canceling a subscription. Oh my gosh. Or canceling a subscription by calling. That's even, I'm just like, just should be a click of 3 buttons max. So who is affected by bad user experience? Can you guys put in the chat? Who do you think? Everyone, says Brenda. Yes. Everyone is affected by bad user experience. The customers, people who are using a product or an experience, as well as businesses, right? Yes, Dennis, you got it. The companies themselves, they're losing out potentially on thousands of, not millions of dollars in revenue. If just a few people or if not just a few people, if a couple million people are clicking out of an experience, let's say Home Depot, right? That's millions of dollars that they're losing out potentially in a month. So we have UX designers to the rescue. I like this girl. She's badass. She's like, UX. What do UX designers do? How do they rescue this situation? Well, UX designers are thinking about the users. They're going out, speaking to users, understanding their problems, but they're also at the same time talking to the business. What are their business goals? What are their needs? How can we combine? How can we think about both of those at the same time, as well as the technology? What is the available technology out there, and what technology constraints do we have? So the UX designer is constantly working. I work with the development team very early on. What can we actually do, and what can't we do, right? Or what's going to take a crazy amount of time, and what is our time constraints? Right? So there's those time and budget constraints at the same time of trying to serve people's needs and meet business goals. A lot to think about, a lot to balance all at the same time. Well, how do we do all of this, right? And we'll get in a little bit into the UX process too a bit later. So it's not just about how it looks, right? User interface is that presentation layer. It's the actual site that you're interacting with. It's beautiful. It's the colors, right? But UX is actually how you engage with the product. What does the person feel when they're going through that experience? Is it frustrating? Is it a positive, delightful experience? Is it moving just through it really quickly? Is it Amazon one-click fast purchase right to your door in 2 days? All of that engagement and excitement, or lack thereof, is that user experience. So let's talk about that process. It begins with research, understanding and empathizing with our users. So that can mean if we have a website, we would put a website in front of people, ask them to talk aloud as they go through it, see what they like, what they don't like about that experience. It's doing interviews with people, understanding what problems they have, how we can solve it. And then we go into ideation, like all the different ways we can solve it, right? That's the fun part. What are the 100 different ways we can solve this? And how do we narrow that down into a few that we try out? And that's when we go into designing and prototyping, doing things fast, quick, early on, testing it out and refining it, right? Because we don't want to be attached to any of our ideas. We want to test it and put it in front of people and see, do they like it? Is this a good experience? Is there way too many steps than there should be? Is it confusing? Is it delightful? And potentially we scratch an idea completely at this stage and restart from the beginning. So this is kind of like a cycle that we use, and we kind of move and bounce around depending on how the testing goes. So let's talk about what is a wireframe. And so wireframes are typically UX or involved with the UX designer. So they are the ones that are thinking about what is the goal of the user? How do we solve for them? How do I map out every single step that that user needs to take to accomplish their goal? And then how do I map it out in these screens here? So this is just like that basic structure of the page, right? The buttons, where things belong, etc. And then we get into high fidelity. Potentially, we will do user testing in this stage, just wireframing, understanding the flow, the steps. Does it make sense? All of that. And we might do some iterations, some changes, and then we might start thinking, okay, we feel pretty confident. We feel really good about it. Now let's move into high fidelity design. And this is typically more for the UI designer. They're putting the colors, the typography, making it pretty, making it sexy, right? And so you can think about it like building a home where UX is that structure, understanding the problem, understanding business goals, making a flow, all these steps that make sense, that feel good. It's a great experience. UI is like the paint, the interior design. They got that landscaping going on. It's like beautifying that experience. Okay, so that's really the difference. Someone's asking, what is a UX? UX is user experience, right? So what are we focusing on today? Today, we are talking more about XD and how it can help you with designing and prototyping, this phase of the UX process. XD is free for the starter use. So feel free to download that. We should have already shared it already in the chat for you guys. And also Adobe is on Discord. So they have a creative career Discord where you can connect with other designers, industry professionals, meet mentors, learn about new events, giveaways, all of that. So feel free to check that one out too. It's great and it's newer and they're putting a lot of energy into this Discord. Maybe if someone can put that into the chat too for the moderation, bit.ly/ACC Discord. And I'll put that in the Discord for this, for my channel as well for you guys. Okay, let's get into it. Do you guys feel like you have a better understanding of UI, UX? Is it any more clear, or were you like, I already know that. I already got all that. Old news, old news. Cool. Let's get into XD. How much time we got? All right, we're okay. So let's talk about, maybe I'm going to show you first actually some of the power of XD and what you can do potentially, right? This is kind of like the top tier here. So this right here, we're seeing a timed transitioning, moving from that splash screen into the sign in screen. And then here I have a create an account. I can have and fill in these fields. It's all in one artboard. Again, these are all just, this is nothing, this is a prototype that's all based on static designs that we're creating all this interactivity with. So here you're going to see some animations. Here again, we have states, this movement with the toggles, just making it feel all that much more real. Here we have this scroll feature here. We have voice interaction, so you can actually, let's see if it works when I'm on screen share. Green. Green. Oh, it does work, yay. There's some animation there. Here we're gonna see some of that subtle animation. I can select this and it can scroll me to the bottom of the screen here. Here's another time transition with an animation there. Here we have this overlay feature with a little cat chat. So you can just make your page feel like a real live app, and then you can test it out. So the more real it can feel, the better test results we're potentially going to get. The better when we hand off to a developer, they understand, oh, these are the animations you want, etc. And also just looks good when you're sharing it with stakeholders. So this is kind of what you can do with XD. And this is what's in that practice file. We're probably not going to go too deep into this today, but I wanted you guys to have this so that you can play around with it and you can change it up and make it more personalized, make it more your own. I have my little puppy sleeping behind me and he's like dreaming and like, so if you hear that, that's what that is. All right, so on the left-hand side, here's the basic tour of Adobe XD. On the left-hand side over here, there's these little, it's your toolbar. There's like these 8 options here. These are mostly what you're gonna be working with. The first is a select tool. The second is a rectangle tool. And then we've got some other shapes here. We've got a line, we've got text, and we have artboard. Basically, all the basic tools are there. It's very, very lean. If you've used any other design tool, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is so lean. Yes, it's because UI UX is much more simple than graphic design. If we look at the most popular apps and websites out there, it's all squares, lines, text, right? Squares, circles, lines, text. It's not that complex, actually. So we don't need to get that complex. That's why it's such a lean design tool. So in your design file, you have this little area here. Also, if you're not using the practice file and you just opened up a new file, if you're opening just up a new file, you can just go into here, select any one of these artboards options. It doesn't really matter. And you'll just have this new space like this to play around with. And that's totally okay too. You don't need the actual practice file to get into XD with me and practice. First thing that we are going to do is we're going to create an artboard. So if you can see here, all of these are in the same little rectangle shape. They're all of the designing is in this artboard. We don't just design like willy-nilly in this gray space, putting squares and circles. We want it contained to a space. Okay, so how we do that is in the toolbar over here on the left-hand side. There is 1 second from the bottom here. When I hover over it, it says Artboard, and I'm going to select that option. Once I do it, it may seem like nothing's happened, but actually over here on the right-hand side, this little menu has changed and it's giving you the artboard options. Do you want to do desktop, tablet, mobile, Instagram stories, blah, blah, blah. There's all these options and you can just honestly pick whatever one. It doesn't really matter because we're just playing around with a bunch of shapes and stuff at this point. So there is my artboard. It's laid out, right? And I can start designing away on top of this. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys shapes. So the second one down in the toolbar is the rectangle. Okay, so once that's selected, I can now make rectangles. Woohoo! So I'm going to just make a rectangle and let go. And that's my rectangle there. What XD does is it has this right-hand side menu. It's a contextual menu that changes depending on what you've selected and what you're creating. So I made a rectangle, but I want to mess around with it. I want to change it up a bit. You can change out colors and all of that in here on the right-hand side in this menu. So here where it says fill on the right-hand side with this little checkbox, I can select that and turn it into whatever color I want. Go ahead and play around with that. Any questions on Artboard, rectangles, opening files? Hope you guys are feeling okay about it. You guys practicing in it? Again, let me know if you're doing it. Otherwise, I don't want to be pausing for no reason. Okay, you're playing around. Cool. Red square. Red square. Cool. You guys feel good about it? Was that easy? Y'all? Should be pretty easy. Okay, cool. Let's move on then. So now from here, something that you can do with XD is you can take any image. So I'm just gonna grab, let's see, what is this image? Okay, a picture of me, here we go. I can take any image I want and drag it in, and it's just going to automatically mask it into that shape. Whether it's a rectangle, a circle, any shape I want, I can do that. That's how you can bring in images. All right, and I can just double click to, oh, actually I'm still in rectangle mode. So this is another thing. I'm still in rectangle mode. I wanna go back into just select mode. Go back into your toolbar at the very top, select, or shortcut is V on your keyboard. Okay, so now I'm gonna double click, and now I can move it and change it and play around with it as I please. It's kind of a funny picture of me to use, but that's funny. All right, so that's how you can play around with images. So go ahead and you can even go on Google. Let's get a Google image. Let's do party. What comes up with party? Oh man, back in the day when you could party like that. Okay, so here's an image. I'm just gonna drag it in, and there we go. There's the image. Woo! So just that simple, placing an image. Feel good about it? Anna misses it. Anna misses the party. You party girl? You know, I love live music. I love dancing, and I definitely miss that. Ready to move on? Yes, let's do text. Next thing, third one above in the toolbar is text. I'm going to place text in here. So now I can just text away. And again, where do you change this? Where can you edit the text? I don't like this font style, whatever it is. Over on the right-hand side in that contextual menu, I can change whatever I want in there. Okay, so you won't get too lost in XD. You'll basically be able to find everything on that right-hand side. That's all I'm going to cover for just the very basics as far as the toolbar goes. One final thing I want to really show you before we start getting crazy with the design is groups and layers. So in that little toolbar down all the way at the bottom, there's 3 little menu items at the bottom. The middle one is layers. Okay, so these are all the layers. This is my image. This is my text. And you can see that they're just there's just these 2 layers shown like this. There's nothing that's grouped yet. Why do we want to have a group? Well, I might want to, place this on top of here. Maybe I make this legible and, have this be something that I want to be able to move around together throughout my board, right? Because there's going to be many different little groups and things that you're going to be, let's show you example. Like this would be a group, and this would be a group, right? Because when I move this, I want to be able to move this all together. I don't want to have to grab each individual layer when I want to move this section. So we really need to focus on groups and ungrouping things. This was the thing that frustrated me the most when I got into designing was understanding groups. So I want to make it clear to you guys so you guys can feel confident getting into a design here. How do you create a group? You just grab these things, right click, group. Now you see on the left-hand side in the layers, it's made it into a little group of the folder. If I want to ungroup something, I'm like, I don't want these together anymore. Right click, ungroup. Okay. Now let's say I'm going to say it is grouped. When I select this, this whole thing is together now. When I move it, the whole group comes together. We're all together, the picture and the image. But let's say I just want to get into that image. I can double click to get into a specific layer. Okay. Now that's going to be maybe one of the frustrating things you guys might experience when we move on to this next step, groups and ungroups. Just play around with that, taking things, grouping them, ungrouping them. Okay. Alrighty, now let's go into plugins. We are going to download a couple plugins today to make our lives easier. Plugins are things that XD is great, but it could always be greater, right? So we have these plugins people have created, XD's created some themselves to improve our workflows and our life. So how do we find them? Well, over here in the top left corner, there's XD, file, edit, object, right? Not inside XD, but right above in my menu over here. And there's plugins. And all the way down below, there's an option to browse plugins. And we are going to use the little search button to find a couple here. Quick Mockup is the first plugin we are going to download. It has this like little blue rectangle, and you'll just click the install button to get that installed pretty fast. Quick Mockup. The other one is free stock. So this one with the little eyeball, you're just going to install that one. So free stock search. These are the two plugins I highly recommend you start with. Again, don't worry about doing it right now. If you don't want to, you can do it next time if you're not designing with me in real time right now. So I have created my sketch. I always begin with like, what do I want to have on the page? And I'll probably have, multiple of these when as I'm thinking about my project before I get into the design tool. And do you have to be good at sketching to be a UX designer? Obviously not, right? This is not the best looking design. Just sketching out the basic concept of what we're going to have on your screen. So now I'm ready to use and to create something from this, right? A nice looking design. This is why we're using a plugin, which is basically a UI kit. UI kits can come in different ways. Actually, what I've given you guys, this whole thing is a UI kit. What is that? Something someone has already designed that's for free, you can use and you can manipulate and change and make it more your own for your own idea. So Quick Mockup is also a UI kit. That's the one we're going to be using. And now that we've downloaded our plugins, we need to find the plugin to use it. So we talked about over here, the left-hand side, this toolbar at the very bottom, there's 3 other menu options. One of them was your layers, right? The middle one. The one at the very bottom, the bottom corner is your plugins. So here I'm going to look for Quick Mockup. So when you actually begin, you'll see something like this. You'll have these themes you can begin with. I'm going to begin and start off with minimal. Okay, this is basically our wireframe, right? Gray, scale, nothing fancy, no colors to get attached to, no pretty designs at this point. And you have some options. You can actually design just putting these like little elements out onto a screen. So, background color, images, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to use the templates. Right next to elements is templates. And mine looks kind of just like I could just use like a marketing home screen, like a basic home or classic home. Let's see. I'm going to use this classic home option. This is a bit of a heavier plugin. So if you're finding that it maybe is taking a little while, it is one of the heavier plugins. So depending on your download speed. So I'm grabbing this guy. Let me move this stuff over. And it has kind of like some basic things of what I want on my screen, but I want to make it more my own. So I'm going to take this text. I'm just going to double click into it. And then I can just change the text there. Then I don't have any I might maybe include some secondary text, but I don't have a button here. I don't want that contact button. I'm just going to move these. And then like here, I'm just going to change this to here is how, like in my text, I don't have any of these buttons. So I'm just going to remove them. So here at this point, why groups was important because I'm getting and selecting this group, but I'm double clicking to get into this layer with the button and I'm removing it. And I don't even have this whole section. I'm just going to take it and delete it. Do you need to be connected to Wi-Fi? Yes, you do need to be connected to Wi-Fi for it. Sorry. And I can just move this guy up. And again, I don't have these buttons, so I'm just going to remove them. And I can add things if I want to. I can like create a new rectangle for a new image or add some text or what have you. You can use your shapes, right, to create more things if it doesn't have it in here already for you. I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to keep this, but this is just like going to be a sign up thing. I don't have this. So you can really just start like taking, editing, moving, changing things to fit your own design, your vision for your design. So now I'm like, okay, I'm ready here. Like this is pretty decent. I'm just going to grab an about page so we have two screens so I can show you what it's like. And let's say I have two screens that I've already designed and I'm going to flesh them out a bit and make them more my own based on my sketch. Okay. So now I have two screens. Now I want to make it pretty. Here we go. So we were in minimal over here on the left-hand side in my plugins, and right above minimal, it says the word back. So I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to select my artboard. How do I do that? You just literally select the title where it says Classic Home. Now the whole artboard is selected. Now I can change out. Oh. I said this is my artboard. There we go. So here I selected my artboard. And so this now the themes should be highlighted blue. If it wasn't, because it for some reason wasn't reading that I selected my artboard, but now it is. So I select my artboard and now it says themes at the top here, highlighted blue. Now I'm going to be like, okay, I want to do something like this theme. So now it's just replacing everything. I'm going to take this one as well. Come on. There we go. I'm going to take this one as well and apply that theme to it. So from here, now it's like, okay, certain style, right? It has the UI design. It looks cool, but maybe you want to make, again, more of this, make it more personalized to your branding. Maybe you don't want the pink, maybe you don't want exactly that black or that typography, etc. There's a really fast way to replace all of this. I want to pause for a second. Is anyone using the quick mockup plugin and is doing this? Are you guys doing this with me in real time right now? Because I can pause and give you a second to apply it and ask questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're probably about to go over this, but so how do, like the quick mockup, it's not interactive yet, right? Like your old one was where you could press play and, click on buttons. Mm-hmm. Right now, the one we're making right now, it's not interactive yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's not interactive yet. We will have to make it interactive ourselves. And yes, I'll go over that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, any other questions?
I have a question. So I'm looking at Adobe XD right now. The file, I opened the file and I downloaded it yesterday. But at the top, I don't see the same options like the file edit, object, plugin.
Oh, you don't see this up here?
Yeah.
Oh, that should just be in your, it's not within XD. If you minimize it, it should be at the top of your home screen.
Make sure you're not on your Zoom. Make sure your Zoom isn't full screened anywhere because that will affect it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on Windows. Okay.
Okay. So Jesus has just said it's for Windows, it's on the left.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys for helping. Yeah, I haven't used Windows, so I don't know. Sorry. But now it's good to know Windows is on the left. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? All right, thanks for those are great questions. All right, now let's make it more personalized in a fast way. Now down in this toolbar in the very bottom, we were in plugins, right? We talked about layers. There's one we haven't talked about yet. Right at the very top is your document assets. What is that? Well, if I'm using this color, I'm just going to, there's a couple ways to get into a particular layer. I just want the background layer with this pink. I'm going to just double click to get into that particular layer, right? Once that layer is selected, I'm going to go over into my document assets where there's colors here. And there's a little plus button next to colors. I'm going to add that little plus button. So now it's a document asset, a color I'm using across all of my colors. And basically what it means is if I edit this color and let's say I change it to purple, once I've added it here to document assets, it's going to change it across my all of my designs, that color. Okay, so now I've changed it from a new gradient color, this pink to a purple instead. Same thing goes if I want to take this color, this background layer, and I add it to my document assets. These are like the colors that rule all my colors, right? I can right click, edit that, and then I can change it to maybe like a blue, right? So now it's changed everywhere that has that exact color. So this is how you can just kind of quickly make a few changes to it, again, to make it more of your own style. Same thing goes with character styles. I can take this H1 style. I've already added these document assets earlier. That's why you're seeing it potentially in your practice file or seeing it here. And I made these for the, these are in here because of this practice file. So don't get confused with that. But so if I want to do the same thing with character styles, I can just add the little plus button and there it is. Right click, edit it, and then I can change it maybe to like Montserrat. Okay, and I can go through and change that. So let's take all my body copy, add it, right click, edit it, and I want it to be Montserrat. Now it's changing that across all of that. So anything that has that same text, that body text, is now changed to Montserrat throughout my artboards. Let's add this color too. Right click, edit it. Do I want it that blue color or do I want a new color? Maybe I'll do that, like a dark blue. All right, so now I can make it more my own. Let's pause there. Any questions about document assets and editing them?
There was a question before, I think we missed it. It was about, I'm going to read the question. So my question is, if using Mockup or quick Mockup is industry practice, or is it, it's not preferred, or is it something beginners use to make a good starter?
Yeah, good question. So this is basically what I called a UI kit earlier. And UI kits, this is a plugin for a UI kit, but there's also tons of UI kits and resources like this one that's out there in the universe. And I actually still use UI kits to this day, especially because sometimes like a button is a button is a button, right? Like there's only so many ways to make certain things. So for me, what I think is most effective and I think what companies or agencies think about is most effective is time, right? So you don't need to recreate a button and you can just take a button and make it a little bit more of your own. Again, it's about personalizing it as much as you can so that it doesn't look like you've copied from just a UI kit, or maybe you take a few UI kits and you're applying your own stuff to it. And of course, this is highly recommended for beginners so that you don't have to like, wait, what is a proper size for a button? Because beginners will potentially create a button size that's crazy, or does it make sense or whatnot, right? So, or sometimes the designs look okay, but if you want to like be like looking like, oh, I've got a great looking portfolio and designs right away, it's best to utilize other people's UI kits and start to like build upon your own skills as you're doing it. And it just kind of happens naturally. So yeah, UI kits are great for beginners or pros. Any other questions you said that I missed?
Someone was also asking about moving the entire artboard, which was tough for them, but I think it's already answered.
Okay, cool.
So usually do you just click on the like name of the artboard and then you can?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I move it. Clicking on the artboard name.
Thank you. Yeah, I think they're all caught up.
Cool, great. Let's move on. Let's talk about images. There was another plugin that I recommended, right? The free stock search. So let's go back into plugins, which was the bottom little tool right here, plugins. Let's select that guy, and we're in Quick Mockup. We want to get out of Quick Mockup. So where plugins is, I'm going to click the little left button there, and I'm going to go to free stock search. What it's using is Unsplash, Pixabay, Pexels, etc. And you can turn these on and off, but they're free images. So let's say I'm going to select this image here. So that little rectangle. And then I'm going to search, like, let's say I'm doing, because we're going to go on with this party theme. Let's do concerts. I'm going to select this option. And so you see that there's a little checkbox here. And then at the very bottom, it says apply selected files. So I'm going to select that. And now that image has been replaced. And then here I can, like, on the right hand side in my contextual menu over here, where it says appearance in the middle, I can just change that appearance a little bit here or what have you to kind of play around with that. The other thing I can do is just take the rectangle tool, which I've shown you how to do that. You can place that in here. Maybe you put like a little opacity like that. But now you see, oh wait, the text is behind the image, behind this rectangle. This is when you're going to need to go into your layers. So I'm going to just sidetrack here for just a second. Right above the plugins, right, was the layers panel. It's kind of like in order of what you're seeing. So this rectangle at the top is on top of everything, right? And so the heading is underneath that, the hero's underneath that. So if I want to move and manipulate things, I need to move them in my layers. So here, I think, oh no, here's where my text is. I'm going to just move that, drag it all the way to the top. So now it's above. So that's why layers and grouping is important for you to just recognize and understanding, just at least at this point, understand, okay, if something's on top, that means it's the layer that's also on top. So it just corresponds to that order. Okay, let's go back to plugins, bottom corner, plugins. And now I'm going to take this rectangle, just double click again to keep getting into that layer, double click, right, to get into that particular layer. And oh my gosh, so many things were checked. No. Let me uncheck these guys. Let's say I'm going to do this one here and apply selected. So now it's in there. So double click this one, select that, apply it, double click into this one, select it and apply it. So now I can just go through my designs and start just placing in images that I want through that in that capacity. You can also, again, like I showed you earlier, you can drag and drop any image into a shape and it works just the same. Okay. Pausing there. Any questions? Let's see. Very similar to Figma, but I like this more. Hey, that's cool. Let's see how to import this wireframe to a website. So I mentioned this earlier. Check out the plugin Anima to see how you can make something live from XD. Can you please talk about Figma versus Adobe XD? So Figma is browser-based, so it's much more, what that's driving, I think, Figma is team collaboration, which is like very browser-based, right? So having many team members in the same file at the same time, that's really important, especially for larger companies. You can still collaborate with other team members in XD. There's this little option over here on the right-hand side with a little plus button to invite team members, and you can both be collaborating in real time. It's just not browser-based, so maybe it's just not as fast or and XD is catching up in that sense. But what XD is focused most of its attention on is prototyping, making these fancy animations, making it feel much more realistic for the prototypes, and making it really easy to make prototypes. So ease of use is really important in the XD team. And so that's kind of like a little bit of the difference between the two. You feel woke by this workshop. Wow, Mama, that feels good. I like that. Okay, have you used to change design to code in Figma? No, I'm not a Figma expert. Sorry, guys. I've used it here and there, but I'm definitely not an expert. Does that plugin work with WordPress? It basically, with the Anima plugin, you can take code HTML, CSS, and you can apply it to whatever you want. I'm not sure how it works with WordPress. I'm not a developer, so I don't got all the answers for that. But maybe a little quick Google search can help. You can also use uservoice.com. I think it's uservoice.com. I can find out the exact URL, but you can give comments and suggestions to the XD team, and I can find that URL for you, and I'll put it in Discord. And sometimes people have already made feature requests and there's already a status on there, so that's a good way to kind of keep track of the status of different features that are coming up. Alrighty, guys. Yeah, it's good to know a couple of tools. Like, I know how to use Sketch and Figma and XD, but I'm just an expert in XD. And it's good to know them all. And they're also somewhat not that different as far as like the layout of it. So it's not too challenging to go from one to another. Okay, I'm pausing there. Any questions specifically on what we're doing right now before people can kind of move on from their designs? No? Anything? Because we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to show you a couple more things, and because I want to get into prototyping. One more thing. Okay, from Illustrator, yeah, you can just open up an Illustrator file in XD. Yeah. So let's say same thing with Photoshop. If I had, let's see what or actually even Sketch too. If you have Sketch and you're using a Sketch UI kit too, you can do the same thing. It doesn't really matter. You right click, open with, and then it could be XD, Illustrator, Sketch files, Photoshop files. Cool. Let's move on. One more thing about this plugin actually for quick mockup. Let's get out of the free stock search and let's get back into quick mockup. If I want to change out these icons, I can just double click, get into that particular layer. So I see the blue outline around this layer. And then there's other icon options. So I don't know, let's say I wanted a Facebook icon. There's a decent amount of icons in there. So you can just replace them like that. That's another thing to make things quicker. Another plugin that I recommend if you want to get a bunch of free icons that makes life easier is this one, Icons for Design. And you can also just search things in here, let's say heart, and then there's just a bunch of options in there. So that's another quick way to just like plug and play and move into design quickly. Let's get into prototyping. So up here in the top left corner where it says design next to the home is prototype and share mode, right? So when we're ready to prototype, guess what mode we go into? Yes, prototype. So now we're ready to prototype. And let's say I want it. So when I click the about screen, I go into this page, right? When I tap about, it's going to go into this screen. So again, when I want to get to a particular layer, just double click. Now I'm into that particular layer. Once I've done that, there's this little blue arrow on the right-hand side. It's like, where shall we go? And I'm going to just take that little arrow and I'm going to drag it. Ooh, there's my morning voice. I'm going to drag it over to this artboard here. And now when I tap it, it's going to go here. But I want to make adjustments and changes. Where am I going to do that? Again, over on the right-hand side, your property inspector, this is where you're making all your edits and changes in prototyping mode as well. So at the very top, there's these triggers, tap, drag, etc. We're only going to focus on tap today. That's the most common one. Underneath that is actions. So basic transition, you're going to do an animation, overlay, all of these different options. We're just going to do basic transition. Again, that's the most common one. And then it has the destination. It already has the about page. And I can change later on, if you did some sort of little animations, you can change the easing and the duration, etc. But let's just keep this as is. So now I'm going to select my artboard again by selecting the title of my artboard. And on the right-hand side in the top corner where it says 51%, there's a play button. There's a phone button over here. Click the little play button. Now I can play my prototype. When I click about, ooh, what happened there? That looks crazy. What happened? So something that you need to pay attention to when that happens to you is it's basically, there's a challenge with the viewport height. So we just need to make that change. And you have to go into design mode to change the viewport height. So like what is above the fold? What can someone see when they land onto your page? What before they have to scroll? So let's go back into design mode. When I select this classic home page, over here on the right-hand side in your property inspector says scrolling, and it could be none or vertical, right? So when originally it had vertical and the viewport height was 768, I can change that viewport height if I want, but that's the standard for this viewport 768. So I need to just do the same thing for the about page. So here, when I select the about page, the about artboard on the right-hand side, it has scrolling, but it says 4221. Ah, that's crazy. 768. Now, when I select this artboard, I go into play mode, and I can do it when I'm in design mode or prototyping mode, doesn't matter. Go into play mode, and now when I click about, it's going to go into this about page. So what XD does too, and let's go back into prototyping mode, it just remembers your previous settings. So if I click into this layer and I take my little arrow and I drag it over here, it just remembers all my previous settings on the right-hand side, tap, transition, whatever. So now when I play this, I click into here, now it's going to go into that screen. So that's, oops, my little viewport height changed. 768. 768. There we go. So now you can just create that clickable prototype like that. Anything more advanced, what I'm going to do in the Discord channel is also link out my previous events that I've done for advanced prototyping. So you can take a look at that. And it also has a very similar-ish practice file alongside with it. And again, I do a ton of these events if you want to go and check out my future events too, or just sign up here. You can sign up for my events, and then I have tons of XD events I'm doing if you want to take it to that next level, if you want to start thinking about animations and all that fun jazz. That'll be another time. Today was just quick designs, getting it like looking good, getting that movement, creating a prototype, feeling pretty confident with that. How are you guys feeling? Any questions? How's it going? Was there any questions I missed?
I think there was one. Is it there was a what is time delay? That was someone was asking that.
Yeah, so that's this one that I showed earlier here. So when here, I'm not clicking anything. It's just with time, it's transitioning. So that's the time option. I do have a TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. I can place that in a little bit. Feeling awesome, Ashika. Great. I hope you guys are. Let's feel awesome soon here with a raffle. We're doing the raffle. Any final questions before I move on to the raffle?
So you're going to be in the Discord, right? I have a couple questions. I'll just save it for that.
I'm not going to stay in Discord. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But feel free to ask a question right now.
Okay.
And you can also message me on social.
Cool. Yeah, I just had a quick question. It's kind of more personal, but I'm building my portfolio right now also to hopefully become a UI UX designer. What are some things that are like, as an interviewee, that you look for that is strong in a portfolio, other than like examples of like websites or apps I worked on? Like,
so I also, in my events page, I have a whole recording that you can watch called Portfolio Do's and Don'ts. And that might be a really great workshop for you. It's a whole hour-long session of everything I recommend from my experience looking at hundreds and hundreds of portfolios. And what I'll say most importantly is storytelling skills and showing who you are and your personality in some capacity, whether it's on the case study, but also through your about page, etc. Really, as a junior designer, that's the way to set yourself apart. Because the work is going to be potentially good, but there's a lot of other good junior designers and a lot of people that are trying to go for junior roles. There's just a lot of competition. So you need to set yourself apart with your branding, with your personality. So that's the way to do that.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. These are all my links, guys, placing it in here. Do I got TikTok? Yeah, I got TikTok in there. Cool. All right, let's, anything else before we move to the raffle? We got 1 minute. Oh, I gotta get that raffle. Okay. So I'm gonna stop. Oh, actually, before I stop sharing, I'm gonna show you the shirt that I'm raffling off. Oh my gosh. Come on. Here we go. It says design better together. The shirt is not actually pixelated, just the image right here. So that's also what I'm raffling. I'm gonna raffle 2 of those guys. All right, let's begin with, let me stop sharing and pull up my, yeah, I have this shirt. I love this shirt. I wear it and I wear it to events. My first question for the giveaway, for the 1-year subscription to Creative Cloud. What is the first step? And sorry, I didn't describe this. The first person to answer correctly gets it. Okay. What is the first step in the UX process? Research, Ahmad. Yes, you got it. You got yourself a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription. I wish I had like a clapping track. We're all clapping for you though. And then the second question for the first t-shirt giveaway, what is the name of the plugin to create websites quickly? What's that plugin we use? Quick Mockup. Yes. Who was that? Oh, it's moving fast. Destiny. Destiny Williams, you win a t-shirt. Woohoo. Moderators, you guys are able to collect those names and get email addresses for me later?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Okay. We've got one.
Okay. Do you have one more or is that it?
One more. We got one more.
Right.
All right. One more chance. What is the name for design files other people have created that you're able to use? UI Kit, says Sarah. Yes, you guys are paying attention. Good job. Winner, winner. You guys are all winners though in my heart. You guys have a lot of you guys answered correctly. Great job. And great job getting into this workshop and being active and proactive in the chat and following alongside and asking great questions. And I hope you guys had a good time. I had a great time with you guys. And I hope to see you guys soon elsewhere. And I'll put again in the chat and Discord some of the, I owed you guys some stuff. I'm going to put the Discord channel for Adobe Creative Cloud. There was something else I owed you. What was that? Do you guys remember?
We already put that in the chat and we'll also put that on the Discord. So we
Okay,
got
there was Okay, good. Hopefully there was nothing else. If you guys, if there was, please let me know.
For sure.
All right. Thanks, guys. All the
Thank
best. Good luck.
Wait,
you.
let's take a
Oh,
picture real
yeah.
quick. Let's everyone.
Okay, let me look at the right screen
turn on,
then.
whoever can, please turn on their amazing cameras and show their amazing
Oh, I get to see you guys. How
Wow.
fun now. I wish we did this the whole time.
Hey, more people set up their hairs, do all the stuff. Okay, and we'll get to it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay, there's 2 screens, so cheese again. And oh, oops, there we go. All right, we got it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks,
And,
guys.
we have our next event happening right now, so please take a look at the announcements in Discord, and yeah, I'll see you right there. Thank you, Elize, for this amazing workshop. Thank you so much.
All right, then, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elize.
Thank you so much.
So